Hi, it's Billy from Sweetie Darling, and today I'm going to show you how to ice a square cake in fondant and how to make it rain sprinkles. This cake that I'm icing is the cake that I saved from my last tutorial when I showed how to use the Pro Froster on a square cake. I thought, may as well not let it go to waste. So this cake has actually been in the freezer until the buttercream is nice and hard, so I've got a good strong foundation to lay my fondant over. I'm using Massa Tocino fondant as always and rolling it nice and thinly and then lifting it and laying it over my cake. Now before I've done that, I have brushed water all over the surface of my buttercream so that it dissolves some of the sugar in the fondant and then the fondant can stick to the buttercream. Once I've laid the fondant over, I can just polish it over the top a little bit, and then I need to work on getting the fondant on the sides. Now a square is tricky. I find the easiest way to do it is to concentrate on getting one of the corners on first, and then it's just a case of very patiently lifting out all the pleats and working your way around. Now you want to always lift the fondant up and lift it towards the cake. There's no point in stretching out and pulling the fondant down because you're just putting unnecessary strain in it. All that excess that you might have around the bottom, use it to your advantage, lift it towards the cake so you're not tearing the fondant over the corners of the cake. So as I'm working my way around, I'm lifting those pleats out and smoothing them onto the cake with the flat part of my hand. And as I get to each corner, I lift it out and try and get the corner on. That sometimes undoes what I have just done, but it is just a case of being patient with it and working your way around until everything is on. That last corner and last side are definitely the most difficult because suddenly you're like, ah, I've got all this excess, what the hell am I going to do with it? But if you stick with it and you're patient, just keep carefully lifting pleats out, lifting it towards the cake and getting bit by bit on, it will all fit. So once it's on, I can use my smoothers. Now I had actually frozen my cake just a little bit too long here, so it was thawing inside my fondant, which is a bit of a fondant nightmare. It just makes the fondant go really sticky and wet. So my smoothers were not having a very good time with this. So what I had to do was dust my hands with corn flour and brush that over the fondant, so I had a nice, it was almost like talking my cake. So I had a nice smooth surface for my smoothers to glide over. But if your fondant isn't a cold sticky mess, this won't be necessary. So I'm using my smoothers to go around each edge and side of the cake just to polish out any marks and to pinch the edges together to redefine that nice sharp edge that I got with the Pro Froster. So I tend to do all the top edges first and then I move on to the corners. That is the same principle. I pinch the fondant into a more defined edge, and if I'm a bit overzealous with it and I pinch too much of a ridge, I just use my smoothers to smooth the fondant back into the sides of the cake. Once that's done, I use my palette knife to very carefully cut away the rest of the fondant at the base. I normally just cut away the bulk of the excess first and then come in closer and slice as close to the cake as I can and as carefully as I can so I can peel the extra fondant away and it leaves a nice flush edge at the base of the cake. Now this month I got my first month subscription box to the Baking Time Club, which is basically a monthly subscription box of sprinkles, would you believe it? So I received some sprinkles in the post and of course I wanted to use them, so again I thought this was a good opportunity. So in my Baking Time Club box I got a bag of these very colourful sprinkles which are called Rainbows for Days sprinkles. Rainbows for Days, so uncool, Rainbows for Day. And then I got these really pretty pink, lilac and white ones which are called Candy Floss sprinkles. Oh, candy floss. And then, as much as I love the other two, I think these are probably my favourite ones. So these are all like silvery, icy blues, lilacs, like cool tone greys, and they're called Dappled Sky sprinkles. Like, I love the names of these sprinkles. All of them are so cute. Rainbows for Days, Candy Floss and Dappled Sky. And they're just all so beautiful, so I can't wait to have a go at all of them. But for today, I use Rainbows for Days. So I thought it would make quite a nice cake, as the sprinkles are called Rainbows for Days, and we're in April now, so it's like April showers, although we haven't really had, it's not very normal for April. We have had, I suppose we had a couple of showers, so it's April showers, but still, it's like normally torrential, it's normally April torrential downpours. We've had a couple of showers, so yeah, maybe it's all right. But for that reason, I thought it'd be nice to have a cutesy fun cloud on a cake that is raining sprinkles. So sorry, there's building work going on across the road and I normally try and time my videos before they turn up, and seriously these are like early builders, so sometimes they're moving skips out there at 7:30 in the morning, so normally I'm like, oh, I'm like trying to make it sound as if it's later in the day and my voice isn't just like oh. but now, where are we? 3:15 in the afternoon, so I've not done very well today. But yeah, if you can hear all that building work, I'm really sorry. I can't ask them to stop, it's their job and they're going to be like, No. So for these sprinkles, I thought it'd be a nice idea to do a fun cutesy cloud raining sprinkles onto the cake. So to make the cloud, I've used flour paste, rolled it out nice and thinly, and then I freehand cut a cloud with a cutting wheel. If you don't feel like you could freehand cut a cloud confidently, then just get print a picture of a cloud or of a cartoon cloud and then cut out the template and cut around that. Once it's cut out, you can either leave it to dry and add a face later, or you can add the face now as long as it's not too soft. I used a PME edible black pen and just drew 2 little curves for eyes and a little curve for the mouth, and then I used a matte pink rainbow dust and put a little bit onto a paintbrush and then brushed it over the cheeks to give it nice rosy cheeks. I then left mine on foam so it could dry completely. Once it was dry, I used 2 wooden skewers behind it and some royal icing and stuck the skewers onto the back of my cloud. And the two little black lines on the back of this are where I was working out which end of my edible pen to use. So whilst my skewers were setting onto the back of my cloud, I made some little sprinkle raindrops. So for these, I rolled out some flour paste again, and again freehand just cut out some teardrop raindrop shapes with a cutting wheel. Again, if you're not confident with doing that freehand, then just get a little raindrop template, like a cartoon raindrop, and then you can do different sizes in Word and print that sheet out and then just cut around those. I then emptied my Rainbows for Days sprinkles into a bowl, painted all of my raindrops with water and dipped them all into the sprinkles so they stuck to one side of the raindrop. Once they had firmed up a bit and my cloud was nice and dry and my skewers were attached well, I pushed my skewers into my cake and then used some royal icing to attach my raindrops down the front of the skewers to cover those up. I don't know if you can see on camera here, but that condensation on my cake I was talking about from it being way too cold inside has created a wet patch on my fondant. So that was quite handy for me because I wanted to do a pile of sprinkles underneath the cloud, but if obviously you probably won't have a wet patch of fondant there, you shouldn't have a wet patch of fondant, so you would actually just brush some water over here to make it a wet patch of fondant. But for mine, I just tipped some of the sprinkles over and you can really see here all the different sizes, colours, shapes, and then I just love it. So I did a nice big pile of them on there, and then I had some leftover raindrops, so I was like, oh, these would be nice on the front of the cake. So added a bit of water and dotted those down the front panel of the cake, and then I thought it'd be nice to finish off with a little border at the bottom. So I painted some water at the bottom, got some sprinkles in my hand, and then sort of tipped them up onto the side of the cake and ran my hand along the bottom of the cake. And I had to do that several times to make sure it wasn't too patchy. I love this cake. Obviously the sprinkles make it completely, so I'll put a link underneath this video through to the blog post, and I will make sure I link there to the sprinkles and everything else that I've used in this video, but you can see full instructions in the blog post. I really hope you enjoyed watching how to cover a square cake in fondant and how to make it rain sprinkles. If you're baking this week, don't forget to take photos and use the hashtag YesDarling on Instagram so I can see what you've been doing. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and click that subscribe button. There are brand new videos every single Monday. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week.